Okay, guys, so this has me more hyped than it does Tristan, and I'm sorry, Tristan. I'm sorry we have to drag you into this. Me and all the Junji Ito fans that are watching this video. Sorry that we have to drag you into this, Tristan. But
Okay.
I love Junji Ito's works. I know you know of some of them.
Yeah.
Mostly through memes, I think.
I feel
But
like you've
I
probably told me about this at some point.
Well, because okay, so here's the thing. Before we talk about the anime, just getting Tristan a little bit up to speed. Tristan, we've talked. I know that you saw the meme with the shark from one of Junji Ito's works, where all of the fish essentially get morphed with like animatronic parts. Like I don't want to like spoil it for some people, but basically the fish get merged with like android
Okay.
parts, and so they kind of some of them resemble like spiders in a sense. And the shark crashes through the door, and it makes fun of the use of sound effects.
Right.
So it's come on and slam, and welcome to the jam. That was you saw that one. If you guys haven't seen it, I don't know if I'm going to post it below as we're talking. If you're watching this through our YouTube channel, those guys on the radio, you'll see it there. But or I'll put it in some description or something. So that came out a while ago. You may have seen some memes about I think it was like Amegara Falls, where it was the guy was talking about like that's my hole, and it was like a hole shaped like his human body that you fall
Oh,
through.
yeah. That one well, actually, I read a bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine really
Yes.
enjoyed that story too.
So yeah, because the thing about Junji Ito, the reason why I love his work and the reason why this anime has the potential to be amazing, some of his work is very long form. So you're gonna have a volume of just one of his works, right? But then there's other works that he's done that have just been really really quick short stories, and it's funny. I've forgotten so many names of his works because I've read almost everything he's ever done. If it's out in English, either legally or if there's some fan translations around, I've read them
Right.
because they are so good, right? And I would suggest anyone going out there and reading them if you want to read something scary. And sometimes they can be gory, but other times they can just be downright disturbing due to his do a lot of his amazing character work. I mean, there was one short story where it was like the human chair, and it wasn't like a human being molded into a
Uh-huh.
chair. It was about a guy that just enjoyed hiding in chairs. And it was just this creepy
Okay.
guy who like cut a hole in a chair and just sat in it. And the person in the house didn't know they were sitting on a person
Right.
for days until the police came in. There's
Okay.
stories about it's just creepy. It's not like it wasn't like sexual or anything. It was just creepy.
Right.
There's other ones where it's like, oh, if you listen to this tape, then it'll cause you to go crazy, and a little bit like The Ring, sort of in a way, which we actually just podcasted on recently. Um, but and there's a bunch of other ones as well. I can just go on and on and on and on. There's one where like I think it was like the mannequins were coming to life to take over human bodies. Another one where dead people were coming back to life, but like they came back to life, but they also came back I think like as other people. So it was kind of like body morphing, like doubles and clones and stuff like that. He's also done stuff that sometimes just don't have any dialogue at all, just like a couple short pictures that just make an entire just creepy story.
Right.
There's so many interesting stuff that he's done. I can just keep on listing all of his works, and that's why I'll stop. But the reason why I'm happy about this anime that's coming out, well, it's funny. As of this podcast, it's been out for 4 days or 5 days, right? So an episode already aired because it was supposed to air on January 7th, and we know this is
Right.
coming out late. But the reason why I'm still saying, hyping it up is because only the first episode's out. We don't know how this thing's going to look, at least as of, when we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're going to take from some of his more, like, larger works, like, more of his works that kind of span more than one episode.
Right.
But what I love about this is they could easily just take a certain, manga, like, volume that he did, do it for 3 episodes, call it a day,
Yeah.
then have one episode be a short story that he did, and then jump back into a 3 episode arc.
Right.
So there's so much you can do with this
Yeah.
that I am super excited that it exists. I would imagine that Crunchyroll or some other website would pick it up because I mean, this guy has done. By the way, I want to mention that the manga that I was referring to, the one where the fish become not sentient is a bad word, but they become evil. Fish become evil. Gyo. Of course, there's Uzumaki, which is about like the hair, like kind of gaining sentience. Why does everything gain sentience with
Mm-hmm.
Junji Ito? And then Tomie, where oh god, Tomie was so interesting. So this girl died.
Right.
Think about a middle school class, right? So and so died. They all know so and so died. Don't ask why. Spoilers. But so and so died. They know. She shows up the next day. They're like, that's
Okay.
Tomie. Tomie died.
Right.
And I think even the teacher knew as well, I believe. So they all knew, like, oh, this girl shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But she's here.
Yeah.
And it spanned multiple volumes. So there's so much they can do with this. I mean, they can make, like, 5 12-episode seasons about Junji Ito's works.
Right.
And still have some stories to spare.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love his works so much. Apparently he also... Oh, I forgot. He also did a manga adaptation of Frankenstein as well. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Right.
Apparently he's also done let me see what the article says. It says, a recently launched a manga adaptation of Osamu Dazai's classic novel, No Longer Human. I haven't read it. But again, there's just so much that they can take from him, especially because if some of this stuff is public domain that he's like written about, they can easily just pull out his version of Frankenstein for like an episode or two.
Right.
Because it's vastly different than Mary Shelley's. I'll say that much.
Okay.
So yeah, I love his work. My God, I freaking love his work. So this is just me, just fangasming. Sorry, Tristan.
That's fine. I mean, I'd be interested to see this as well.
Excellent. So I don't know where we could watch it as of right now.
Yeah.
And if you guys know as of this recording where, please totally post it in the comments below. I'm sure Crunchyroll or even maybe something like High Dive if they want to branch out. High Dive, okay. So I know we talked about High Dive like once on the show,
Yeah.
right? And obviously Crunchyroll would pick this up because it's Crunchyroll. Like they pick up a lot of anime, right? But I think High Dive would be a great place for this to be because with High Dive, they seem to be trying to go out of the norms
Right.
of what other places. Like, yeah, Crunchyroll has a lot of older Ultraman series, which is why like I love that Crunchyroll does that. But like High Dive went for Garo, which was like, oh, you're licensing Garo? I didn't think anyone would. And also they have like I think they had, what was it, Zabungle was the anime we talked about, which was like an 80s.
Right.
Oh, we did talk about it twice.
Yeah.
Zabungle was like an 80s mecha show that they just picked up out of nowhere, and it was like, oh. So actually, to be fair, we did talk about it. We talked about High Dive once as like, oh, High Dive exists. We talked about it with Ushio and Tora, and then with Zabungle. So okay, we've mentioned it more than once, but still, they're very interesting. A very interesting service. Still haven't subscribed, so we should probably get on that if we want to actually do a review of it. But yeah, no, I'm really hyped about Junji Ito's. It's not his anime, but the anime based on his works. And I'd have to say I hope they do it justice. I always worry about anime nowadays because, I'm not trying to sit back and go back in my day because I think when it comes to saying back in my day in terms of anime quality, I feel like it's bullshit. Mm-hmm. No, because like we'll do the back in my day when it comes to like how quickly an anime gets licensed and dubbed in the West. I mean, Funimation's releasing so many simul dubs. Like I was under the impression it was just like Space Dandy and Dimension W. No, they can do like one simul dub per season.
Right.
So Funimation, holy shit, like they're doing simul dubs. To me, I know some newer anime fans are like, yeah, and so what? But to me, that's what I put on my grandpa pants, and I'm like, listen here, in the overalls. But when it comes to like, oh, anime's better then than it was now, I don't like that kind of talk. But I will have to say, or like anime adaptations are better than they were now. I think it's bull, right? Mm. But after seeing what happened with Parasite, where that came out in the 90s, the manga, and the newer adaptation came out just 2 years ago, I believe. You kind of see how if a director or if a production company wants to look at the manga or the source material and go, you know what, let's update it for a newer audience. then it's not it's not that it's completely not what you wanted or what you remember, but for all we know, there's like little details here and there can be changed and shifted just to say, hey, let's cut this out so we can fit it into this episode or whatever. So there is a chance it might not be what I'm looking for,
Right.
right? Especially for some of his longer running works, if they want to take something that was like 3 volumes and go, we'll make it 3 episodes or 4 or 5. No, if it's 3 volumes, 1 volume doesn't equal 1 episode. Despite his stuff being more visual than dialogue heavy in some cases, that just means that you focus more on the visual aspect. You don't just cut it out or make it fast or something like that. So I don't know. I want to see how his atmosphere translates to anime.
Right.
And I have to say, I do wonder why he has this many works, and it's taken so long to make an adaptation out of his works. 'Cause I'm pretty sure he's never had one of his works adapted into an anime or into an OVA.
Right.
So I do find it interesting.
I think
I don't know, maybe what? Actually, I'm a dick. Gyo was made into an OVA for Gyo.
Viz.
And people weren't a big fan
Okay.
of the Gyo OVA. However, Uzumaki became live action. I don't think it became anime.
Right, yeah.
So Uzumaki became live action. Yeah, I'm referring to in the anime space,
Uzumaki
not in the live action
and
space.
Tomei have both
Tomie,
inspired
there's a bunch of
live-action
Tomie.
adaptations.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Tomie movies. But
I mean, maybe they were just waiting. Maybe it was just, there could be a whole bunch of different reasons for it, but maybe they were just waiting for someone to do the artwork justice and to animate it really well, maybe? I don't know.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with. I hate to say this, but I don't think people were waiting based on integrity.
Okay.
But I feel like there was but the thing is, I feel like there's always been a market.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel weird. Maybe they realize. I mean, to be fair, it's not like Ito's been doing this since. I don't think he's been doing this since the '80s. I think it's only been since the '90s.
Right.
So if he has been, I think the '80s are kind of where ultra-violent anime kind of it was at its peak. But then in the '90s, it wasn't that big anymore. So maybe they just didn't think there was a big mainstream audience for his work.
Right. Okay.
Perhaps. Also, maybe they thought his work would be too censored. I feel like they'd rather have they being these anime companies or these production companies that want to make money. And by the way, that's not like me putting them down. They want to make money. You kind of need to be a company, right? You kind of need to make money. So they'd rather censor something that's a bit more etchy.
Mm.
And then put it uncut on a DVD, maybe rather than releasing blood. Oh, because actually, yeah, I mean, have you seen the edited versions of Higurashi? I know you've seen some Higurashi in general, not too much, but have you seen the edited versions? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, you've seen them. Just the black blurs over all the blood and everything. Yeah. It's rough to watch. So maybe that's what they were nervous about. We don't want there to be, all this. We don't have to blur everything if we're going to air it on TV. Even late night, you still have to blur stuff to a certain extent.
Right.
So maybe they thought people wouldn't watch if it had to be blurred.
Right.
And then compared to something that's a bit more, it's why would you? We're stuck in this sauna together. That's that's a bit different. To some people, maybe that was their thought. I don't know. I'm not in their head. But I am wondering why it took so long for something like this to come out as a weekly series, or even as an OVA. Think about how long it took Gyo to come out as an OVA. Just separate topic, but still somewhat relevant. So either way, I'm happy that it exists. I hope it makes money. I really do, because first off, I hope it's good. But I hope that it being good also then makes it money, because, I'm a huge fan of his work, and I think there's a lot of people, not even just in Japan, just overseas, just in general, that love his work, that are going to be so happy to be able to contribute to him by watching this. And I know some people might say, oh, you're not really contributing to him if you're giving money, to Crunchyroll or something like that. And that's not true. If he's getting money to make the anime adaptation, right, and I don't know how the deal would work, to be fair, but if he's getting money for an anime adaptation, and it gets the first season, and people watching it on, let's say, Crunchyroll, or watching it on High Dive or wherever, give the company's incentive to make more of this anime, he's then getting more money.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's being left out in the cold. I don't think he'd sit back and do this and And also, to be fair, it could have also been him not wanting to have to be animated for years.
Yeah.
I don't know, right? To be fair, because in Japan, it's actually up to the authors. I know in some cases it's not, and there's, and there's other, there's a bunch of different, intricacies. I know, guys. But the author does have power in Japan, I think. I would argue more so than in America, where it's kind of like, no, we bought your book series. Go suck it. That's kind of how it works in America. It's like, hey, I worked on the first season of this show. Great, now get out. But this was my project. You're correct, Tom. Get out. And then you have a show going on for like 18 seasons. It's kind of like, why? But anyway, so I'm hyped. You're medium. You're mildly hyped. You're lukewarm hyped.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see the series. Yes.
No, that's your reaction. That sounded like lukewarm hype. And I'll be sending you links to buy the manga. I should be like, you need this. You need this. Because I definitely think that his work, at the very least, should be read because it's amazing.
Right.
So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.